How is everything?
Great. From warm, sunny Durban, South Africa. Welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
You're most welcome, Rahila, and I really appreciate you for accepting this invite. It's great to have you. It's great to have a conversation with you as always. And I'm so sure this is not the first time I heard you in my podcast last time. And those who would wish to go back and recap on what we discussed with Rahila last time on my podcast, it's still there. And it's gotten a lot of view and read as well. So, in today's conversation, Rahila, we are seeing leadership and we're trying to bring back leadership into our own hands. And, looking at it from a perspective of not position or designation, but looking at it from a perspective of being responsible, taking an influence, and impacting the world. So, I would just like to define what we mean because today our main topic is about knowledge and power in relation to leadership, how knowledge and power can influence leadership, that is it. So, before anything else, I would like our viewers or those who are watching us to understand what we mean by knowledge, what we mean by power, and what we mean by leadership. So, starting by leadership, Rahila, I would like to define leadership as ability to influence and impact the social and economic stage of any given community or society. And power, we are talking about power as ability to actions of others, control actions of others, and the ability also to escape from control of others. That is what power we are discussing today is all about. And knowledge that we are talking about today is the ability to understand when, where, and how to exercise the power that you have been bestowed as a leader. And the leader, as we said at the start of this conversation, is not those people in power. Leader is just you who's watching this. Leader is me who's doing this now. And the leader is Rahila who's talking to us this morning. So I would like to invite you now, Rahila, to discuss with us what you would be defining a leader.
First and foremost, thank you for this beautiful opportunity and to be amidst in such an awesome leader like yourself. And to say a very warm good morning to all our viewers out there via LinkedIn, Facebook, whoever you are globally. A very warm welcome. John Gora, what a fantastic topic. And I thank you so much for allowing me to share from my own experience. As you know, in whatever I teach and coach, comes from my direct experience with working with people from all walks of life throughout my country and globally. For me, leader, I believe every person is born great. And when we realize the greatness that we have within, every single person has some ability, some talent, some genius within them which is untapped. And we are so programmed from the moment we are conceived until we are born to believe that whatever we seek is outside of self. And if you look in what epigenetics and what science has shown, in the modern research that has happened, say, in the last 10 to 15 years, it's truly mind boggling and fascinating. And this is why, for me, leadership begins in the mother's womb because our DNA carries certain programmings. And these programmings I make reference to is about what we've been told, how we must be. And so often, when a child is born, we are always telling the child how to be, what to think, how to feel, how not to feel. And so often, we don't even express our pain or whatever emotions. Even a child is not allowed to cry because adults view it as no, the child must not cry. And yet, the moment we're born, we cry. So, and yet we suppress it all the time. So, for me, leadership begins in the mother's womb. And what I'd like to talk about today in addressing knowledge, power, and leadership is beginning in the home based leadership. That's where we wait until we go to school or at university or getting to work where we believe somebody needs to train us in becoming good leaders. We got it backwards. Leadership starts at home in what we say to our kids, how we raise them, What do we teach them? For example, I said, every person is born great and we each have some hidden talent or ability. And so often a child may be the best cleaner in the home, can sweep the house so clean, or bake, or wash the car. And we don't see that as a skill for whatever reason, because our mind is so programmed to comparing, and parents do this so often where they compare us with someone else. And they say, you're just washing a car. What are you doing? Oh, you're just baking. That's so menial, it's so mundane. Look at the other child and what that child is doing. Meanwhile, we don't realize in the child baking something in the home or cooking something in the home will become the next best master chef of the world. So what we do is we negate the gifts and the talents God has given us into becoming something and fitting into a box that somebody else wants us to be. And that is the human struggle. And we carry this right into our workplace, right into our marriages, into every aspect of life, always wanting to be someone else. And that's where we got it wrong. So we got to come back. Whatever we seek, every given power lies within us. And we need to teach our children that. We need to teach ourselves that. Hey, you know what? I look great. I love wearing good clothes. And yes, I can be the next best model. Or I can be singing in the bathroom and somebody say, wow, you sing so beautifully. And just encouraging that someone, no matter how bad or good it is, just to build confidence. Confidence and self-worth and self-esteem comes from deep within us. So that is the power we need to tap. The other thing what research has found, and this is the gist and foundation of the work I do in my coaching and being an intuitive coach, what I find is that over a span of 30 years of doing this work through my clients and outreach work and working with very indigent communities in my country, we carry in our DNA what we call intergenerational patterns and pathologies without realizing that. So, if we're born in a family, for example, where there's poverty, and you cannot ask somebody who is living in extreme poverty now to become a great leader when they're in a home environment where there's depression and the energy vibration is extremely low. You cannot take that person and say, you know what, now you become a great leader because I'm telling you to do X, Y, and Z. It doesn't work that way. We got to address the basic needs of people, of humans. And when we look globally, we look at the amount of food we waste. And yet we know the large population of the world are starving. So can we start? What I teach is the 7 C's of leadership. Now, let me begin with the first C. The first C is about the conception of an idea. So in working with very indigent families, what we found, I had to create a model, a holistic model in working in how we develop leaders. And I've been working with mothers who are pregnant, working with unborn babies, to taking them to become graduates over a span of about 20 years. So what is the starting point? The starting point is we have to address human basic needs of food, shelter, and clothing. So here's the thing. If I have some food, or say I've been to a restaurant and I didn't finish my food, can I then just take it in a bag or in a box and I can give it to somebody? And at least that fellow or that person may feel so nourished for that moment. And in giving that food, give blessings to that food, to that person, and say, you know what? I'm giving you this, but I pray you have food every day. I give you blessings, and I want you to send blessings to other people like yourself, so you'll always have food. So here's the thing in addressing poverty and in addressing what we don't have is to start thinking about what we have. So it all starts with a thought. Okay. So what we did was because I'm covering both your questions in a way, and we'll just take it organically, John Gara, if that's okay, because the other question we're addressing is poverty, right? So I'm doing both in how we address the leadership, in how we can overcome poverty, and how we can shift from victim mentality to victor mentality. And it all begins with a single thought. It doesn't mean that we're carrying intergenerational patterns of poverty and struggle, that our life needs to be that way. And what we're doing, we're passing that same pattern over and over to future generations. And the cycle is forever perpetuating itself, as you know. So the starting point is, if we can start with one person in a family, it only takes one person in a family to make that change. That's what I found. So, in taking the one person that wants to change and say, you know what, first of all, there has to be acceptance of any challenge and struggle, that it's not a failure, it's not a bad thing, that God wants me to be where I am, or the universe, for those of us who do not believe in God, that there's this infinite intelligence or the universe that wants to teach us a lesson. And yes, I am in a family where there's huge challenges. Now, here's the first C, is a conception of an idea. So I know where I am. I'm accepting my reality as it is. I don't have food. I don't have money. I don't have education. I don't have anything. But if we can teach one person to change that thought and say, hey, if you had to choose, and we always have choice. So what is it that you would like to choose? And that person may say, you know what? I actually want to choose to have food. I want to choose to have a better place to live. I want to change my environment. And the moment you have that thought, it is an energy field, it's a vibration. So when we are down and out, it's a negative vibration, very low density human energy of vibration. We want to change that. So I'm going to change it with my thought. What thought do I want to have? The conception of my idea is, I want to overcome this generational pattern of struggle, of poverty. And then I would write it down. Or I would rehearse it in my mind in whatever language you want to, it doesn't matter. Because every letter, every sound carries a vibration. And in shifting that, I'm creating new neural pathways in my body. The brain is giving new signals to the body that I want change. And the change will begin with a single thought in saying, I want to have food every day. And if you hold on to that single thought and you keep repeating it and repeating it, I would like to have good, nourishing food every day. I would like to create more money for me and my family. I want to create advancement for me and my family. These become positive embedded commands that you're giving your body in shifting from struggle mode, guess what, into effortless grace. And it's such a simple thing to teach because I know this, it's a tried and tested formula. I did it for myself, and I worked with 40 families over a span of 20 years, 1 day a week of giving to humanity in service as an outreach project in teaching people who had absolutely nothing from zero. And we took these children and we mentored them and we sorted out their welfare. We ensured that they had food, from giving 30 food hampers or 40 food hampers a month in 2004 when we started the program to where we are now. We only give 3 food hampers to 3 widows. The rest are all self-sufficient. They can earn their own money. They contribute to their own homes. The government have provided for some of 10 of our families low-cost housing. The greatest gift is seeing one family that bought their own house, and that came through the power of intention and the power that we have within us to create better in what we want. So the greatest gift in knowledge, we say knowledge is light. And if you look in this weekend, throughout India and throughout the world, the Indian community celebrates a festival. I'm sure you heard of it. It's called the Festival of Lights, and it's called Diwali or Deepavali. And even in South Africa, the Hindu community are celebrating that. But what is this light? It's not about switching the light on or lighting a lamp. It's not that. The light is coming to a place of clarity in your mind, body, and soul. How do we change our biochemistry in wanting better? How do we take our latent genius? And what is this latent genius that I'm talking about, starting from the point of conception in the first C? The first point of departure is conception, meaning I want to be different. I want to have positive thoughts. I want to change. I want to bring light. I want to be a beacon of hope for everyone else. And when you become that, automatically information comes to you. The greatest gift is this at a cellular level, that you can tap into your latent genius coming from intergenerational wisdom, which we call wisdom filters. As much as our past generations would have given us poverty, struggle, oppression, slavery, we can say, thank you very much. I don't want to be that now. My new conception, my new idea is one of creativity and advancement. And guess what? As much as we've taken the negativity from past generational patterns, we can also tap into the best wisdom that past generations have given us, which is our DNA. So the focus will be on how to tap into my latent genius in my DNA. So let's take the imagination to another level now. So it's not merely about acquiring knowledge. Knowledge will take you from place A to B. But as Einstein said, imagination will take you everywhere. So when you start tapping into your imagination, you're tapping into your infinite wisdom. Your intuitive intelligence kicks in, and then you start consistently saying these positive affirmations. There's your next C. I'm going to concentrate on it 24/7. I am a millionaire, billionaire philanthropist. I am a millionaire, billionaire philanthropist. That's what I say to myself. I don't have the millions to give, but
Yes.
because I'm saying this, I am this philanthropist that just gives and helps whoever I meet, whether it's my client, whether it's somebody I meet in the while shopping, or at the garage, or wherever, is just giving a smile, and that is knowledge, that is light, that is advancement. Because the moment you do that, people feel healed in your presence of positivity and optimism. So, like with every country, we have our negativity. Right now, South Africa is not in the best place. However, I'm not saying I want to leave my country because X, Y, and Z is happening. The government is bad. The more we're going to diss the government, the more negativity we're going to talk about our country. Guess what? We're creating more negativity. Instead, I am saying as a leader, I'm one person, one woman in South Africa and Africa. I'm making a difference in shifting my genealogy in saying, thank you, Africa. Thank you for giving birth to me here. And thank you that I can make a difference to my country in just giving a smile, in giving blessings to somebody when I'm giving food, or thanking the attendant at the petrol station. That is leadership. Leadership is leadership without titles. You don't need a title to be a leader. A 10-year-old can be a leader. You know, when a 10-year-old speaks to adults and say, after a natural disaster, flooding or an earthquake or something like that, where a 10-year-old can say, I want to help everybody. Can I help to give food to someone? And then with technology, this is what's so beautiful about technology. The 10-year-old with their parents or some adult will put it online and say, you know what? I want to help this country, whether it's Japan or wherever, that's been hit by a typhoon, in raising money to make a difference. That 10-year-old is a leader. She has a thought of creating betterment for someone else. She cares enough to want better for someone else. And the whole universe then conspires. And guess what? In a week, she can raise $10 million, providing that money endures well. Providing whoever gives that money gives it a good intention and purity. So coming back to the next C, we spoke about conception of an idea. We spoke about leadership without titles. You can be at any age to be a leader. We spoke about consistency. We spoke about commitment. Collaboration would be whoever I am, like today. This is a collaboration between John Gora and Rahila Khan in leadership of love, and you in bringing your humanity in the difference that you want to make to the world as a leader. This is a collaboration. So in a
Definitely.
collaboration, what do? We reach millions of people who want to listen to us and take the message, even if it's one word, in making a difference to someone else. Isn't that amazing that we can
It's
do that?
it's
The
amazing.
other thing, yes, the other thing is, how did we get to do this interview today and share? It came through consultation. We consulted with each other. Consultation is such an amazing thing to do in a collective consciousness, in bringing betterment and advancement to the world, using technology to its hilt, using technology to connect globally. If it was not for technology, I wouldn't know such an amazing soul as John Gora, for example. I wouldn't have had this opportunity without technology to make a difference in the world. So we can say, thank you, thank you, thank you, God, or the universe for technology. And we then put out an intention for an advancement in technology that, you know what, we can connect and do better things for the world, where we can manufacture better food or whatever it is, even if it's houses or architecture or bridges, the technology will help us to do that. So when we look at the seven C's, can you see how crucial the seven C's of leadership is?
Definitely.
How you can get, yes, your power comes within you. And with technology, every person can be educated. Yes, I understand that majority of the population of the world do not have access to internet. With the work that I did throughout my country through a medical train, we reached the most rural areas where they don't have anything except a hut. So there's no electricity. They totally cut off in a way. But I so believe what I was teaching the kids there, when you pray and want something better, the technology will show itself there, where they can become empowered, where they can go and get online education, where they must be able to read. I told them, pray the fact that you can read. English is an international language. And most books, as we know, is written in the language of English. And as much as we have our mother tongue, we must also want to learn a universal language so that we have more effective communication. That's the other C word, communication. And we can build on the C's, not necessarily the seven C's. We can have any number of C's. The other two C words I want to touch on is one is contribution. Contribution is such an amazing thing that you and I today are contributing to the well being of others in bringing about healing, in bringing about leadership, in how do we access and tap into that potential, that infinite wisdom we're talking about. And in contributing, how can two people contribute to make a marriage work? How can two people contribute to make the world better? That's what you and I are doing. We're contributing our wisdom in bringing out a greater contribution in making it a better world. By the same token, we also have people, sadly, who contaminate because of where they are and through the pain of whatever their intergenerational patterns are, of whatever they took on from past generations of pain and hurt, or whatever the negative emotions. Anger is a huge one. Anger manifests as a result of pain which has not been released. And if we don't release the anger, that leads to depression. So, and that is where we tend to contaminate relationships. And this is where business does not do well, because an owner of a business can absolutely contaminate his entire 200 employees. Although the 200 employees may not know him, but because he's carrying that hurt and pain of his past and not released it, he will contaminate his entire company without realizing it. So that's why it's so important to begin with self in the home. If parents can teach children how to feel their emotions, how to take charge of their emotions and their well-being, in that let children cry, let them be angry, let them say what they want. It's not being disrespectful. We were taught that releasing our emotions is disrespectful, or speaking out and being assertive with adults is disrespectful. I remember my dad would say, shush, get to your room. We are adults, if him and my mom were having an argument, for example, and he would literally chase us to our rooms. And we would be so angry because we couldn't express what we wanted to, because we wanted peace. We wanted to study, but we couldn't because every day there was this drama going on and we couldn't make sense of it. So I urge parents to start in the home. If we can have children releasing all the pain, all the anger, all the frustration, give them permission to be in total exposure of that. That's where leadership begins. It starts in the biology of how we think, how we feel, because it's all interrelated. How we think impacts on how we feel and our actions. Because the moment there's an external trigger, you're going to get angry. Meanwhile, it's not that person that's making you angry. It's something you carrying from your past that's making you angry, but this person is a trigger that showed up to point it out to you. That's what we call projection. So when we start offloading, when we start downloading and releasing, and the breath is the most amazing thing to do that. So I'm going to take the viewers through a very short stint of what am I talking about when I talk about, say you told me something and I'm angry. You know, John told me this, and I'm making a big drama that John told me this, and how can he do that? He hurt my feelings. So what am I doing? I'm blaming you. I'm not taking ownership. My self-responsibility has gone out of the window because it's easier to blame someone than to take responsibility. Instead, this is what I can do. I can close my eyes for a minute and say, oh my God, John Gora really irritates me. But in my body, I'm feeling where in my body am I feeling that source of irritation. And then in that moment, with eyes closed, eyes open, I can feel it in my solar plexus or in my heart or in my throat or in my head. And I bring my focus, say to my head, I'm really angry now. And then I'll do this. And I release. It only takes 6 seconds to release anger, pain, whatever it is. And with practice, you master it. It's so simple. The breath is the most important thing in being human. And the more we can relate and befriend our breathing, the healthier we are. Because in breathing toxic emotions and thoughts and behavior, we diffuse that energy field in our body. Do you get that? Once it's diffused, immediately the neurons from the back of being angry passes through the old reptilian brain, mammalian brain to the frontal neocortex. And instantaneously there's a shift in the neurons and the new pathways you're giving. And instantaneously there's a shift and say, you know what, John Gora, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. I know I'm sorry that I was so angry at you in what you said. Actually, it wasn't you, it's me. And that is taking self-responsibility. Can you say that? Now, how can we make a better society? How can we advance society? How can we advance humanity? It starts with each of us. The thinking needs to be this. If my parents did not plan children and they had accidental children or whatever, I know some people say I'm an accident because they were a mistake, because they were not planned as children. Therefore, it is very, very important to teach teenagers about the biochemistry in the body, to be aware. They need to write things down, for example, of how my life was, all the challenges, all the difficulties. Write down all the things you didn't like about your parents' behavior and all the things society told you. And then when you sit back, you go through a period of self-reflection, self-introspection, self-investigation. You'll start investigating every religion in what it's teaching you. You will start investigating every thought somebody else told you, because so often 100% of our thoughts are not our own. We take on thoughts by what parents and society gives us and imposes on us, and we think that is true. That is the biggest illusion in trying to fit into somebody else's box. So in being a leader, leadership starts very young, and I'm doing this with children, where they can sit and they say, I don't like my mom and dad fighting all the time. I don't want my parents to split or going through a divorce. I don't want my dad having many relationships with other women because he hurts my mom. I don't want my mom doing the same because she wants to hurt my dad. And I feel all alone. I feel so abandoned. In the child or teenager writing that can see the patterns of what they don't want. So on one page, on the flip side, on your left page, you've got all the things you don't want. On the other side of the page, you start writing all the things you do want. You can only create as a leader from a place of clarity, total clarity. And when we clear in our minds, body and souls, that is where we start creating a new life, a new way of being. We choose how we want to be. We choose where we want to be in the world. We choose, like, for example, you in Bahrain, you chose to do what you're doing and you're making such a contribution. Does not mean as much as you're from Africa or wherever you are that you're forgotten. You're making a difference wherever you're in the world. So making a difference is not about money. Money is external power. You can have all the money in the world, but if your thoughts are toxic, your emotions are toxic, you can't make a difference. Even the money you give is tainted with
Absolutely.
negativity. Do you see that? So what difference can that money make in the world? It can't.
It can't.
It's only in your clarity, in your presence of having high integrity, can you then make a difference. The values need to change. So on the left side, you've got all the things you do not want. On the right side,
I'm
hi
sorry.
Jangara,
I
am
guess
I with you still?
that was a signal hitch. It was a technical hitch. I think there was a
Did
mix
we
up
did
with the
we get
signal.
cut off a bit?
You okay? We okay? We are good to go.
Are we on?
Yeah, we are on. I can hear you. I
Are
hope you
we
can
on
hear me
now?
as well. Yes, absolutely. We are on.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, so going on, I was saying on one hand, you got all the things. The moment you know what you do not want, brings clarity about what you do want. And that is where you put all your focus on the seven C's. And then you start creating from that space. And this is how we create change. This is how we become the change. The change, you cannot bring change onto others if we've not taken our own advice. Does that
That's a
make
great one.
sense?
That's a great one, Rahila, and I really appreciate that. It's a beautiful way of explaining the seven C's, and it brings light to all the whole of conversation about leadership, power, and knowledge. And when we come basically into discussing how that affects the economy, we find that everyone across the world is looking to gain an economic advantage. Like, for example, businesses forming trade unions to safeguard and protect their bargaining power. And you find that schools also are being run by different societies. For example, the church wants religion to be taught in schools so that at least they can have advantage of informing the young community or the young part of this generation on what they need their society to look like. And you find the politicians as well needs or wants politics or maybe something in relation to economy and economics and how to protect and safeguard the.
Sorry, John Gora, you're breaking up. I cannot hear you clearly. I cannot hear you clearly.
I guess
You're
there is a
breaking up.
problem. It's a problem with the signal. Can you hear me clearly now?
I can hear you now.
All
I
right.
can hear you now.
Okay. All right. That's cool.
Start
So I
again.
was just trying to ask you
Okay, I'm with you.
I was just trying to ask you in relation to our economy with the seven C's that we have discussed. There's this notion of everyone trying to gain the economic power, like workers forming a trade union to protect and safeguard their bargaining power, not necessarily to, to impact the whole community or generation, but only to safeguard their own bargaining power and interests. So my question is, um, what exactly is true about knowledge? Does it give us power to over others, or does it free us from control of others, Rahila?
Absolutely, John Gora. Can you hear me?
I can hear you
Can
clearly.
you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you clearly. I think there is a problem with the signal, Rahila, and we cannot get each other right because I
Can
cannot
you hear me?
also see you. But I can hear you so clearly, Rahila. I don't know why you're not hearing me. I think where you
Okay.
are, there's a problem with the signal because I can hear you very clearly.
No, it's fine. I can hear you now.
Yes, so my question was that do you think it is true that knowledge gives us power over others, or is it true that it frees us from the control of others, Rahila?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, the sad thing about you spoke about the economy and the way it is, in the way some humans conduct themselves. Look, it's the same in every country when you look at politics as well, because everyone tends, some people, I should say, tend to be so self-serving that they only want to serve themselves. And here's the reality. That is a reality, okay? But the other thing is when we come from a place of higher values and consciousness, humans are awakening into becoming involved in becoming humans. So when there is that level of awareness, we will be very mindful of our thoughts there, because I will be very mindful in how I think, and I'll be very mindful about my actions, because I know if I'm going to have the wrong thought or put something out negatively, very negatively, that I'm creating a generational sin for my family, my children, my grandchildren. So you're passing a very negative legacy on. And until humans do not awaken to that, they will continuously be manipulative. They'll carry on exploiting others and oppress others and deprive others. Education, like we said, knowledge is light. We need education to free the mind. We need to understand our biology, followed by psychology. Psychology is so needed by humans. We need to change our mental construct, because for as long as we're not awakening to ourselves, we're always going to be oppressed one way or another. And we want to let go of that legacy because it's a generational sin we carry of being. I can talk about it because we've come through 300 years of oppression in South Africa. However, we are changing this because the struggle is over. The struggle is over. We want to not continue a generational sin of whoever oppressed whoever. We want to overcome slavery mentality. We want to overcome gender violence. We want to overcome sexist thinking, because it's not helping the future human. Can you see that? So everything needs to change in terms of our psychology. And when our new thoughts are formulated in the mind, that brings about a new sociology. And that is where we'll all have economic freedom, because we're not self serving. We also do not want to be that. What's the point? If you're a billionaire, and I work with extremely wealthy businessmen in my country, how much money can one family have? You can only have so many clothes, you can have only so many houses or cars, and then you're bored out of your skull. That desire for materialism eventually has no bearing on being human. And that is why the very rich communities are seeking spirituality. And in seeking spiritual intelligence, that is where we make the greatest difference in uplifting others, in giving freely to others, because the more you pray and give freely, the more the universe gives back to you. Whatever I want, for
Definitely.
example, for me, what I wanted the most was healing for myself. Because of my past, I needed healing for myself. And what did I do? I made it my passion. I made it my purpose to give me meaning in giving healing to whoever came into my presence. And in bringing about healing, not that I'm a healer, but each person is empowered to heal themselves. We do not take any responsibility for anybody's healing, but we can teach, we can empower. And in empowering others is the greatest gift that I give. And guess what I receive? I receive all the healing, all the love from everyone else. And that is what knowledge is. That is when you start experiencing true knowledge. That is where you start experiencing true wealth, because no amount of money can buy that. We are led to believe as humans we need money to make a difference. We need money to survive. And can I just share with everyone else there? I had a lot of money. I invested in business and I lost everything. I know what's it like not to have a cent in my bank account. But you know what I learned in life is how to become the millionaire billionaire from within. All your richness comes from within you. And when you have that gift of creating and praying for the advancement for everyone else, you automatically become rich, because the universe, that infinite intelligence out there that we may call God, will
Mhm.
always take care of you, will always give you the best life. I have a very luxurious life, not because I have millions in my bank account, it's because of receiving everyone's love as a gift. The more
Definitely.
smiles I give, the more smiles I receive. The more light I give, as through my knowledge and experience, the more I'm giving to humanity and uplifting humanity, the more knowledge and light I'm receiving. I become that. You live it authentically, it flows organically. That is the greatest richness. That is the greatest economic freedom you can have. Money is needed, materialism is needed in the human experience. It's about getting the balance right. And for as long as you don't have that understanding, that wisdom to create, greed will always be there, arising out of desperation. And for as long as we are desperate, we will always be greedy and think there's not enough. So, can you see how the thinking needs to change? There's always enough.
Definitely.
The universe is expanding. There are so many universes that are still not discovered yet, but they are there. And as the universe expands and gives, does the sun any day shine down upon us and say, you know what? All you humans are so greedy. You're stealing my warmth. You're stealing my light, and I'm not going to shine anymore. No. Nature continuously just gives because it's endless, it's superfluous. Does that make
That's
sense?
that
So the
makes
more light
sense.
and power I have, the more I give, the greater I shine because I'm getting it from source.
Hmm.
Source energy can never be depleted. Money
Hmm.
can be depleted because humans created it. Humans created an illusion of power that societies are governed by money. And moving into the next paradigm, in shifting from economic paradigm, we're moving into spiritual paradigm of exactly what I'm talking about, into
Hmm.
unity.
We are losing you, Rahila, once again, and I think we've just lost Rahila because of signal issues. And it was a very great discussion. I had Andranda Anite watching. Thank you so much for watching and also sending those great comments. A lot of people are watching. Rita Martha, that is Sheikh. Uh, there, Chris Cross watching over there, and so many others who are watching. Thank you so much for staying with us. We've just lost Rahila Khan, and it's because of signal issues, but it was a brilliant talk. If Rahila, you're listening or you're watching still, we can have you for the next 1 minute or 2 minutes before we conclude this conversation. We are discussing about leadership and economic empowerment in focusing on knowledge, power, and leadership. And we are trying to define leadership as the ability to influence and impact social economic stage of a given society, and defining power as the ability to control action of others, and also the ability to have freedom out of control of others, and knowledge as the ability of understanding when, where, and how to exercise the powers bestowed on you on as a leader. So we were just looking at how true is it that knowledge gives us power over others or frees us from control of others? We've seen a lot of, schools, politicians, we call them the scientists, want trying so much to overpower or to be at the power of being listened to in matters concerning our society. The religion or religious part of the society wants it to be in schools. Scientists wants to be heard in schools. Politicians want the same. The business community wants to be part of the schooling. You know, so all this takes us to a thought of, is it knowledge that gives us power to have control over others, or is it knowledge that gives us power to have freedom out of control of others? That was our topic of the day, and it was a very beautiful discussion that we had. Unfortunately, I lost a guest who's Rahila Khan, who's from South Africa, a very intelligent lady who's doing a lot of leadership, mentoring, and coaching from South Africa. And due to internet connections, we've lost her. And I think that will come to the end of our conversation today. I thank you so much, those who watched, and those who are still watching. Thank you so much, those who commented. And if you have anything that you would like to say to us, or you have anything that you can add into it, anything that we can bring on that is not there, you can send us a message. You can always reach to us, or you can just write a comment in the comment section and let us improve in the next conversation. So we are looking forward to bringing another conversation, and which will be in terms of looking at how people can collaborate, looking at how people can create a difference across the society and across the world. Because you are a leader from wherever you are seated, you can create a difference from wherever you are seated and with whatever you have in your hands. So that was the conversation we had about leadership and economic empowerment with Rahila Khan. And do stay put for more to come. This is just the beginning of the great things we are doing. If you missed this conversation, you can check it out on our YouTube channel, and as well as you can listen to it on our podcast channel. I will share the links after this. Thank you for watching, and God bless you. Thank you, Anranda. You say incredible talk today. Keep it up. We will keep it up, dear, and we'll be doing as much as is possible to improve in whatever we are doing. That's Anranda sending us a comment from Romania, who is also doing a great podcasting, and you can as well check on her podcast. She has a podcast known as Impact by Choice, which is also talking and concentrating on our society and and all that the society is doing, how to impact the society. So if you want to listen to her podcast, the link I can also share it in the comment section so that you can listen to what she's doing. And they are doing it together with Rahila Khan. There was a topic, a book review that they wanted to do. So great. Have an abundant day and weekend. You too, and Rana Nite. Thank you so much. I salute you all for watching us, and from wherever you are, it could be morning, afternoon, or evening. Have a blessed one. God bless you. Bye.